I'm Cody O'Reilly with JoinTeamHunt, sharing real stories from the West, insights from the hunt, and new ways to connect with fellow outdoor enthusiasts. Be part of the action, subscribe to JoinTeamHunt, rate this episode, and tell a buddy, because you're not getting any younger, and those mountains aren't getting any easier. Welcome back to the JoinTeamHunt podcast. I'm Cody O'Reilly. Today we got a special guest, JasonMatzinger, founder of IntoHigh Country, award-winning filmmaker, storyteller, conservationist, and a proud Montanan who has earned every stripe he's got in the mountains. In this episode, we dive deep into grizzly country, their recovery, their expansion, the conflicts we're seeing on the ground, and the real science behind what comes next. Jason has a brand new film dropping later this year called Walking with Grizzlies, and we break down why this project matters now more than ever for hunters, biologists, and anyone who cares about the future of the West. This episode is full of grizzly talk, real Western hunt talk, real experience, and real conservation. You're just talking about bear hunting a little bit, Jason.
Yeah.
How's the bear hunting going right now you're in Montana hunting just recently, right?
Yeah. So our season's been going for almost a month now. And surprisingly, it's been a little slower than most years. I would have thought with the winter we had, kind of, or lack thereof, that the bears would have been super active. And I think they are. I just think a lot of their movement is in the timber right now versus out in the open where, typically they're kind of forced into those openings because of the snow. And this year we just didn't have it. So it's been an interesting year.
Yeah, you guys have been drier than you know what. And over here in Minnesota, we had quite a bit of participation this last winter to where we weren't setting any records, snowfalls or anything, but we were definitely seeing a lot more snow and participation than you guys were over there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've got some buddies in Ohio, and they had a pretty brutal winter over there this year compared to us. So it's kind of flip-flop from normal.
Right. Has that been a little bit of a different challenge finding the bears this year with how dry it was? Kind of you were touching on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, typically by this time I will have seen, maybe 10 to 15 different bears spotting and stalking. And this year we've only seen 3, and 2 of those have been just little guys, way high. One was a good bear we made a run on, but he's just in a tough spot to kind of make it happen. You're either just too close, without knowing exactly where he's at, or you're just out of range, so he's just in a tough spot to work, but we're trying to keep tabs on him. He's a good bear, pretty bear, blonde. So he's worth trying to stay on.
Are you archery or rifle with bear hunting right now?
Rifle.
Rifle. Cool.
Yeah. Yep. I never have taken a bear here in Montana with a bow. Pretty much always just pull out the rifle. When I was younger, I used to pack both, being like, oh, I'll try with the bow, and if it doesn't work, I'll go with the rifle. And then the older I got, the more I learned that the bow just stayed in the truck all the time, and it just kind of took up space. So I haven't graduated yet, I guess.
That's funny. I used to do that same thing. I bring both of them. And the more and more times you do that, you're just like, you just got to stick with one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Don't even bring the rifle if you want to try with a bow.
Right. Well, crap, man. We kind of skipped the intro, but you're the man behind IntoHigh Country, which is on the Sportsman Channel. And you've produced quite a bit of, half dozen conservation films that are epic in my eyes. I mean, I don't know how much you want to get on touch base with that, but welcome to the show, Jason. I'm stoked to have you on, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you reaching out and happy to be here. You caught us on an office day, so it works out perfect.
Awesome. Right on, man. Well, bear seasons, you guys are into that a little bit. I know those bear hunts can be challenging at times, just like any hunt, but I'm sure you'll get into one here shortly.
Oh yeah, I honestly don't feel like I've given it my all either. I've been really scattered. My oldest son's about to graduate, and so been kind of gearing up for some of that, and coming off a trade show season, and banquets, going to conservation banquets and things like that, and looking for elk sheds, turkey season, bears. It all kind of starts just piling on at one time. But now I really feel like between where we are here in the editing studio, with next year's shows or I should say this year's shows, and just everything else with the schedule, I think we're in a good place to kind of lock in and get serious here. So we have till June 15th, and in my opinion, the best is yet to come. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're sounds like your family and my family got a little thing in common with football. I played a ton of football back in my day, and I think I've seen some clips from the Bozeman college team. They went to the championship, right? I can't remember. Did they win it or did they lose?
yeah, we did win it this
Yep,
year. Yeah.
that's right.
So
Cool.
Montana State Bobcats. Yeah, my family's big fans of the Cats, and so try to hit as many home games as I can if we're not off hunting somewhere. But if not, I've got ESPN Plus, so we can throw up the Starlink and watch it from wherever we're roaming at the time.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. Like if you look at North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, they don't have a professional football team. So everyone just rallies behind those college teams. They are fun to go to, and the atmosphere is just a little bit different than a state that has a professional team, from
Oh,
what
for
I
sure. Yeah, it's greght. We love our Cats, and Missoula loves their Grizzlies, and North Dakota loves their Bison, and yeah, it's fun.
Oh, cool. Is he off to college? Is he gonna take on some football there? Or?
Probably no football from here forward
Okay.
with him. He's actually kind of got into the bull riding, which is worse.
Right.
But he doesn't really know what he's going to do yet. He's torn between going to Montana State and being on the rodeo team riding bulls, because that's kind of a big deal for anybody around here that's into that sort of thing, and um, or just looking at trade school. Maybe following in my dad's business here and becoming an electrician, or maybe going to welding school or diesel mechanic. Um, he ultimately wants to work on his mother's family ranch, kind of, going on, but he's got to get a trade that will go well with working on the ranch, because they're constantly needing stuff fixed. So
Right.
whatever that is, we'll see. He's not sure yet. He's going a million different directions right now.
Like we all were when we were younger.
Exactly. Yeah, I told him, I know you're feeling the pressure to make a decision because your teachers are asking and universities are reaching out and all this stuff's going on, but you don't got to feel the pressure, like, rather take your time and get into something you're going to love long term than rush into something you're going to hate long term. So, um, you know, got to get a job in the meantime if you're not doing anything else. But, you don't got to rush into what you're going to do the rest of your life. You'll figure that out.
Before we keep rolling, if you're getting value out of this, let us know. Drop your biggest takeaway or pass this along to a hunting buddy. Join Team Hunt is built by hunters for hunters, and your voice is what keeps this community growing and the camaraderie strong. Now let's get back into it.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. Well, let's for the listeners who don't know you, Jason, what's a little bit about you and what makes you tick, man?
Well, I guess I grew up here in Bozeman, Montana, surrounded by the mountains and just a lot of opportunity, whether that was, hiking, camping, snowboarding, snowmobiling, that kind of stuff, to then just hunting, big game out west here. We kind of were surrounded by it all. So I really took to that lifestyle, and it led me to ultimately doing the television show, which has been going 17 seasons now. It's pretty incredible. We actually were just looking back on the first season, because we're pulling a clip out of it for an episode that Sam's editing right now. And um, pretty crazy to look back. It doesn't seem like that long ago, you know. but started the TV show. And, what makes me tick really is like conservation, the why behind what we do, why we do what we do. I love to tell the hard stories, things like why trophy hunting is important, or how hunting is a conservation, and things like that to people outside the echo chamber. But also, help educate people coming into this, or maybe just don't know um, why hunting and conservation go so hand in hand, and why hunters really carry the torch in that. I mean, I just love being a part of that conversation and being in those rooms and watching the money get raised and see where it goes, and the effects it has on our wildlife and our habitat. And, the television show really is the base of everything. If we didn't have IntoHigh Country and the partners there and the support through all of that, it would be hard to tell those bigger stories through the documentary films. But the TV show gives me the base to really tell those uninterrupted 1 hour long documentaries, from start to finish, that I'm not really able to do through network television. So, that's really, really my passion, is telling stories that's really going to help the resource and rally um, the hunting community behind it. I mean, right now we're working on a documentary called Walking with Grizzlies, and it's really looking at the restoration of the grizzly bear starting in 1975, when they were put on the Endangered Species Act, and just kind of looking at the history of building that population back up to where we are now, and looking at the delisting, relisting process that's happened with them. Why did they get relisted? What efforts were made to get them, delisted, and kind of why are they still on the endangered species list? And really, I wanted to do this film because I really felt bad for the biologists that have dedicated their time and their entire lives to restoring these bears, and they're just not being celebrated because, what's being decided for the grizzly bear is being done by politicians and in courtrooms, and not what's best for the bear. And it's really hard for me to see these people who care about the bears so much, their work just not being listened to. So I just want to say thank you to these people, and I want to show that they've done it, and not only like barely scrape by, but I mean, they have blown past what, the original expectations were for getting them delisted off of the Endangered Species Act. The original number was 500 bears in the lower 48 states to get them off the Endangered Species Act. And our last count just in Montana alone was over 2,000.
Oh, wow.
And they're still being held there. And I just think it sets this precedence that, like, there is a whole list of animals and species under the grizzly bear that do truly need help. And it's like, what's it say for all those biologists working on those species coming up under, if the number one animal that has met its goal, blown past its goal, can't get removed? Like, what incentive is there for these people to continue their jobs and want to push on? It's like, imagine being told that you were going to do this job for the next 30 years of your life, but you were never going to accomplish it. Like, who's going to keep signing up for that? And I just, you can tell I'm really wanting to get this out because it is important, and it's important that they know, like, we see them, and
Oh, yes, we do.
and we really support them. And so I'm excited for this film, man. We've learned a ton. We've interviewed some great people, and I just can't wait. It's the real story, behind where the grizzly bear is. We've got great support from Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Just the people that are doing the work, boots on the ground, are really excited to support this film because, they know it'll tell the real story. So that's the stuff that, like, fuels me is that kind of work and storytelling.
That's awesome, man. Good on you. I share those same conservation beliefs and kind of wanting to get out there and truly do good by the hunter and ensure that our generation can move that past to the future generations and they can share those same stories and hunts together, and we that just doesn't wash away and fade away into the dust. You know what I mean? It's so critical for this generation to extend that and keep that going. And some of those beliefs and how you feel about that, I share those same thing. And that's why I really felt like I needed to do something on my end by creating a team, Join Team Hunt, collecting hunters and building it the right way and talking about this stuff and instilling those good beliefs and morals out there when they're hunting and coming together to where we can keep passing the torch. You know what I mean? What I'm saying? And it's just with the grizzly bears, I mean, you and I, we see those grizzly bears out there. We've seen those efforts, and we can take those do goods and pass that on. Maybe those grizzlies, maybe they get off the list, and we put another one on there to where we just keep in turn building on it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the whole point of the list. That's exactly why it was designed, is to help the animals, not like help one political group or the other. It had nothing to do with that, and I just love to see it get back to there. It's interesting, when you talk to the biologists or like the bear conflict specialist or a few of the people we've talked to, well, everybody, honestly, we've talked to, I've asked them the question last of what do you think is the best possible scenario for the grizzly bear moving forward? And what do you think is the worst possible scenario for the grizzly bear moving forward? And 100% of them have said the worst thing is to keep them on the list. That's the absolute worst thing for the grizzly bear moving forward. The best thing is to get them off of the list. Allow them to be managed now. Allow us to manage them like we do every other game species in North America successfully. Like, if we have the ability to manage them, they thrive. And we're now at a place where we can't touch them. And there's so many of them that they do truly need to be managed now. And that's really where we're at. And so, yeah. And what happens is now the grizzly bear is removed and it's actively put into management that's handled by the states. And the next one raises up on the list. And those millions of dollars that were going to the grizzly bear are now getting pumped into number 2, number 3, number 4. And we start to see those go up and get checked off. I mean, that's the point. And if we're not checking them off, that list is just going to go away. And man, for somebody that loves wildlife and conservation, that'll be a sad day if that act isn't seen through.
I agree, man. And those grizzlies, I mean, they're not scared of humans in Montana, Wyoming, and they're creating. There's so many of them, and they're kind of exploded out of that 500 goal that was set. And now you're seeing issues to where they're coming and attacking humans, and then it makes a bad name. And it's just like we gotta. My whole belief on everything in life is balance, right? We got to have a balance and checks and balances in place. And I think to your point, and to some of those experts that have been looking at this, we're there with these grizzlies now. Let's put another one on there and kind of get some traction behind them, and then monitor it. I'm all for that. I agree 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's it been just this week, Sam? 4 grizzly attacks in Montana. Was it 4
This year,
this week?
this week, it was at least 3 folks.
Yeah, I think three or 4 grizzly attacks between Yellowstone and Glacier just in the last week here in Montana. And I do want to back up. When I say over 2,000 grizzly bears, that's in the recovery zones. So that's in that imaginary boundary around the park. You got Glacier up here, you got Yellowstone down here. Those are just imaginary boundaries. I mean, right outside of town here, we're seeing grizzly bears. In our newspaper article just recently, grizzlies now in the Bridger Mountains. There's grizzlies in the Crazies. There's, they're popping up everywhere. Well, that's outside of the recovery zone. So those bears aren't even being counted. So, I
Yeah.
mean, there's way more than the 2,000. That's just within those imaginary boundaries where they have the ability to count them.
That's for sure.
But,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, just wanted to add that, and that's just Montana. Obviously Yellowstone has shared boundaries with, Wyoming and Idaho. And so the bears are all in there too. So it's an interesting topic. And it's just like growing up around here, like you would hear the occasional elk hunter that would like see a grizzly or cut grizzly tracks in the snow or something like that. But man, anymore, you just hear more and more and more people like, how'd your weekend go? Oh man, grizz tracks everywhere, didn't see any elk. And, it's different areas of the state, but it's becoming more common. And then the no elk isn't necessarily related to the more grizz. I mean, sure, they do take out a fair amount of calves, but the no elk is related to a lot of other factors there. It's just a state of where some units are at here in Montana.
I agree. It's funny. So I'm from the Midwest in Minnesota, and there's years where I'll go out hunting and go by myself, solo hunting. But usually when I do that, I try to kind of veer away from the grizzlies. Well, it's hard to pick those good areas away from those grizzlies now and good elk. And I thought for sure I was in an area one year to where there wasn't supposed to be a whole lot of grizzlies, and sure enough, I ran into one.
Exactly. That's so much of the story these days.
Yeah. And I was like, God, and it hit me too. I was like, okay, I need to do something to where we can create a team and we can kind of get other hunters to where I don't have to go solo hunting all the time. I can kind of pick and choose and have hunters at our disposal to where we can, hey man, are you free next week? We can go out to Montana and do some elk hunting. You know what I mean? And it's just not your same couple buddies to where you're just teaming up or they're not always available. So that's kind of what Join Team Hunt is, being flexible with the hunting background, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Let's jump back a little bit. So with your film creating, how did that all initially start? Was it it probably just didn't hit right away. I mean, let's get back to kind of those early years of Jason out there with filming. I mean, were you filming solo before? You probably didn't have a whole big team or anything, did you?
No, I would say for probably about the first, 7 years, I was pretty primarily solo. I was filming my buddies, filming myself. Occasionally a buddy would film me, that kind of thing. Filming my dad and his friend George a lot. And that's really where it started. And then it just grew to a place that allowed me to hire on some help, but it's also what I wanted. Like, I've always wanted to combine like Planet Earth and the Sportsman's Channel. And that's the content that I want to create, like I grew up watching Gordon Eastman films and Marty Stauffer's Wild America. And, there was a hunting ethos behind what those guys did, but it wasn't about the hunting. It was about the animal. And so, I wanted to really bring that in to hunting and combine that more, like make it about the animal, but show why hunting is an integral part of that, the conservation of that animal, or how that animal and hunters are tied together in the big picture. But I always strive to like be the top of the top when it came to like production quality. That's really what I always wanted to do. And so you know, it was the quickest way I could get there was what I was trying to do at the time. And I realized that self-filming was not going to allow me to get the epic shots I needed to get. And so, yeah, I started kind of like cherry picking, like, okay, these are going to be the best days of bear season. I'll hire them for 7 days. These are going to be the best days of elk season. I'll hire them for those days. And now it's come into where like Sam comes into the office full time, and whether we're editing, filming, or whatever we're doing, we're, you know, working together. So, but yeah, it really, uh, creating the films came from a place of wanting to just do something higher production value. You know, I realized after doing television for a few years, I could never, like, there's like good television episodes. Like, I'm super proud of the show, but when you want those heartfelt messages, like, it's hard to get that in a TV show that's broke up by 4 commercial breaks and, you know, the kids running around and, you know, you don't know what kind of like quality TV the people are watching it on. So you could put all this work into all these epic shots and they might see it on something that's really digitally, you know, that if I were to watch it, I'd be like, oh, it drives me nuts. I really use the best quality stuff for you to look at it like that. But you know, with films, it's not like that. Like, you know, that people were showing up in the movie theater surrounded by great sound. They could suck it in, and they were gonna have this amazing picture, unencumbered by commercials, interruptions, noise, whatever it may be. And so that's really, I'm like, there's my place to tell my stories. Like, that's the platform. And that was right around the time like Full Draw Film Tour, you know, was coming up, or, you know, at the time there was a hunting film tour and several others that were, you know, coming up about then. Badlands Film Fest, you know, came up shortly after that. And it was just a time in the hunting space where the films were new and people were loving them, like soaking them up too, you know, because it was this new way to watch it that we had never experienced. And so that's really where it all started, I think. And just trying to always push for the highest quality.
Well, hats off to you, man. Your guys' quality is top notch. And just for me, I've tried filming myself, and I haven't had a crew or another guy, and just doing all myself filming. And it's like, oh my God, every little thing is so hard when you're out there trying to kill an animal. And doing it by yourself is almost next to impossible. I mean, you definitely need another guy, and you got to have more than one cameras going to get that type of quality that you're looking for. And last couple of years, I come back and I'm editing and I'm reviewing all my stuff. I'm like, not satisfied. It's like, I can't get this to where your level is. And it takes years, man. So
For sure. And well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, you know, it's not easy with the camera guy half the time, you know, it's, it's just another guy, more noise, more movement, more stuff. So when you bring a camera guy, there's always a give and a take, you know, because you're hiding one more person. One more person has to have the shot angle too. I mean, we've never been too hung up in that. Like, Sam knows if I get the shot, he's just got to get it the best he can, because we work too hard to get the chances at the animals we're hunting to, you know, really worry a whole lot if you're on him or not. Like, if I know if the record button is punched, it's good enough. Like, we'll make it work, because that's the real deal, you know? So, but yeah, thankfully we don't encounter that a whole lot. We've been working to, you know, doing this long enough that know how to set up and what's going to work and whatnot. But animals are animals, and they always throw us for curveballs. And so, yeah, you never know what you're going to get.
what does your guys' setup look like when you're out there filming? Do you run one camera, multiple cameras? What kind of cameras are you guys using?
We run all Canon cameras, and we do run multiples. Usually, you know, camera one is kind of primarily has the big lens on it and all the good audio equipment and the bells and whistles for kind of the main shots. But Sam will typically have a second camera body hanging off him for stills that will also be holding, the smaller lens in case he needs to do a quick switch to something close range, wide angle, that kind of thing. So kind of always shifting between lenses and cameras, if it's kind of a down moment and we're not hearing bugles, there's no action happening or whatever, he'll whip out the still camera and get some good kind of in the moment stills of being on the hunt and that kind of stuff, and just kind of back and forth and just kind of reading the situation, what lens needs to be on, what we're hunting, what the setup's going to be. Are we in the timber? Are we in the wide open? Just all that. It's kind of the setup.
Nice. What films are you most proud of that you kind of put together?
All of them.
All of them?
No, I that is a tough question because they all have a different purpose. Like I try to get a different message in with each film. Like Project Elk was, how is hunting conservation? When we say that, what's that actually mean? That was the messaging behind Project Elk. Project Mule Deer was like, why is connectivity of wide open spaces and migration corridors important for migratory animals like elk and mule deer? And conserving certain habitats for certain animals. That's what Project Mule Deer was about. Circle of Life was about why tags like governor tags and commissioner tags are so important to wildlife management. Like when people see a guy bidding on a sheep tag that goes for $500,000 at the Wild Sheep Foundation, the initial reaction is like, for some people is, that's not fair that I put in my whole life to try to get that opportunity. And just because that guy is rich, he can buy his way to the top. But the reality is all of that money goes right back into the state agencies to build up those herds, to create more tag opportunities for the public. So every time one of those tags is sold, it's doing nothing but going back into the resource to hopefully create more opportunity for everyone to experience. So Circle of Life is, how does, that model of wildlife funding work, the auction tags, and how does that translate to better opportunity for the public to enjoy the species? Project Landlocked was all about awareness of the amount of landlocked public land across the western United States. It was a way to really, OnX really did all the work for Project Landlocked. I mean, they had all the information laid out. Them and Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership teamed up and they put together what was called the Landlocked Report. But it was just kind of this boring piece of paper, that wasn't getting the attention that they wanted. So really, Project Landlocked was a way to really just get the message out about, man, look at what we're dealing with all of this great public land surrounded and inaccessible by the public. So that was kind of the messaging there, and sort of, opening the discuss, like there was no answer to that. There's no like, this is what we need to do. It was literally just like, here's where we're at, and we need to come up with better solutions moving forward because the available public lands that are good for people in recreation are just becoming overcrowded. So how do we look at opening up more access to people without infringing on private landowner rights? Because I'm also hugely big, advocate of private property rights as well. So that was Project Landlocked. Selective, that film was about the history of trophy hunting. Like we've come to this place in society where trophy hunting sort of has this, even hunters will say like, I'm not a trophy hunter, like it's a bad thing or something. But really, when you break it down, trophy hunting at its very core is the most beautiful form of wildlife management ever designed. It really is the North American model of wildlife management, at its simplest, most purest form. And so it was really like peeling back the layers of how did we get to it looking the way it looks, but what is it really? And what's it do for wildlife? And we should still be really proud of that activity and how we partake in it. And now walking with grizzlies, that one is just awareness about we're at a place now where we need to tell the really real story about grizzly bears and not just see stuff in headlines that are obviously propaganda one way or the other, or decisions being made in courtrooms. Like, I want to make this film a celebration of the grizzly bear and, the greatest conservation success story of our time. It really is. It's, and the fact that like all of America isn't just so proud of that is beyond me. And so, that's what the whole point is behind this film. So, yeah, I mean, they all have a different purpose. So I don't even really treat them as the same because they're just so different films, all of them. When it comes to straight hunting films, I would have to say my favorite is probably the Chasing a Ghost film that I recently did with the biggest elk I ever took. That was just one of those stories that just, it's just time in the field, documenting random stuff, and just all of a sudden this story came together. Like, I didn't set out to create that film. I set out to try to hunt that bull, and years went by, and sets of sheds, and not finding him, and then taking him, and it was just, yeah. So that, as far as hunting films go, I would recommend some people watching that, because that took years to make, and a lot of focused effort on where I was hunting, how I was hunting. Yeah, it was just luck in the end, time and luck and being in the right place at the right time. But it's a pretty cool story to tell.
That's awesome. In your opinion, when you're hunting a ghost or one of those legendary species of an animal, what is the difference between that animal that's living, if it's an elk, 10, 12 years versus one that's only 3 or 4 years? And how does that make it more impactful to you as a hunter once you finally get one on the ground?
Well, I think there'll always be kind of a bit of a mystery of how some of those animals make it past hunters year after year, given the same conditions as the elk right next to them. Whether they're just a little bit smarter than the elk next to them, or whether they just figure out those soft spots in human pressure through the years and they know where to go when. Maybe not make the same mistake twice, maybe not do the same thing 2 days in a row. I mean, I don't know, honestly. Like, I tried to rewind that bull's life that I took, because once I thought I was the only one that knew about him, really. And then when I took him and I kind of showed the pictures of him, I had a lot of people come out of the woodwork that had their own little story of experience with this bull. And it really made me wonder, like, how many times in that bull's life, if he would have, because we as bow hunters are like, if he'd have taken one more step, if he'd have given me 2 more seconds. And so I kind of rewound that bull's life in my mind. And I thought, listening to these stories come in from other hunters, I was like, how many times, if he would have taken one more step, or if he would have stood there 2 more seconds, would I have never got this opportunity? Like, how many guys have that story that they'll tell over and over, So it is fascinating. I wish you could just kind of hit rewind and see what they've been through, because I think it would just give us that much more respect for what they do to, to get to be 12 years old.
What does it take to get one of those monarchs on the ground? What'd you have to go?
Well, just time in the field, really. You know, I set out when I first found his sheds. Well, back up. The second year I found his sheds, I realized that like he was a huntable bull. I thought the first year I found his sheds, it was a weird winter. So I thought, oh, he's not like a normal character around here. He was just passing through. And then I found his sheds again the next year. I'm like, okay, he's here. Like I can hunt him. So then I went with this very dedicated effort. Like, okay, I know what it takes to kill a bull of this caliber. Like, you know, you can't shoot the small ones if you want to shoot the big one kind of thing. So I went into it with that mentality. Like, I'm not shooting any other bull until this bull turns up. And that year I passed a lot of bulls. Like it was a crazy good year for sitting water. And that was my tactic. So I had passed a bunch of bulls, some nice bulls, some that I look back on today and I'm like, I can't believe I had the willpower to not shoot that thing. But I had it in my head. I was going to find that bull and kill him. And he vanished. Like from that time forward, I never saw that bull until the day I killed him, which was, I think, 5 years later. Well, 2018, and I killed him in 22. So 18, 19, 20. Yeah, 5 years later. I never saw him. Like,
Oh,
so I went through most of that season with the mentality of I'm not shooting any other bull until I see him. And then I realized, like, man, maybe he doesn't live here. Maybe he just moves in when he sheds his antlers. And he's not actually even something I have a chance at. He could be 25 miles away from here. So I started to doubt myself. And I shot another bull that year. And then the next year I'm like, okay, maybe he'll surface. But I didn't find his sheds. And I'm like, oh, maybe somebody killed him. And then all these questions start to happen. When I didn't find his sheds, I still had hope that I might see him in the fall. But, you know, I throughout the summer, I wasn't getting any trail cam pictures of him or anything like that. So the second year was a little easier to just kind of give up hopes that he was still alive and just hunt other elk. So 5 years later, when I killed him, my mind was not even, I didn't think he was even still alive. You know, I had forgot about him. And it wasn't even until I got home that I realized it was him. Because you kill your bull, you're on cloud nine, pack out, like all the stuff is going on. You get home, you get him to the butcher, you finally sit down and have a chance like to kind of relax for a second. And I had both of his sets of sheds sitting in my living room. And he's got a real distinct, like crooked beam at the back end with like this one point. And, he's just a unique looking bull. And I sat down on my couch and I kind of looked over and I saw that crooked beam sticking out and the light bulb just went off. I'm like, no way. And then I'm like, I killed him right where I found the sheds. Then it all started like adding up. I'm like, I literally killed this bull. You could hit like a pitching wedge to where I killed this bull from where I found his sheds in 18,
yeah, that's
So I grabbed his shed, went out to the garage, and I'm like, that's him. That is freaking him. It was just, yeah. So it was a cool story to tell.
so you basically had like 5 years of history of this bull, right?
Yeah, I mean, six
Six.
initially, because I found his first set of sheds that I thought was just kind of by chance,
Yeah.
But really, I started hunting him 5 years previous. Yeah.
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah, I think what it takes to kill a bull like that, I couldn't tell you. I mean, just going back time after time.
Well, let's switch the question. What does it take to consistently kill good animals, in your opinion?
Well, I think learning animal behavior is super important when it comes to being able to, take more mature animals, like know when you have an opportunity and know when you don't, like my dad and I always said, like hunting whitetails, up in Canada, like you can't kill Kong where Kong doesn't live, you know? So I think, first of all, you have to position yourself where there's big animals, because that isn't everywhere, you know? In fact, typically the more animals in a population, like higher quantity means lower quality. So, you know, finding those places that hold quality animals to begin with is, you know, the key to really, you know, step one to even having a chance to killing a big animal. You know, like if I'm hunting whitetails and I want to kill a big whitetail, I don't do it in Montana. I go to Ohio, or I go to Saskatchewan, or I go to Alberta. I go to big buck places, you know? Um, so I think that's key first. Like you got to go to where they live. And then I just think, you know, as you become older as a hunter, you're willing to like not shoot something for the opportunity to shoot something better, you know, especially if the freezer's full. Like if I have a bunch of last year's elk and I have a moose from Alberta in there and some sheep and bear sausage and antelope jerky, and like it's pretty, you know, you're like, I don't have to, unless I get excited like I did when I was 12, like there's just no need. So I think it becomes easier to just keep passing on animals that will eventually create the opportunity, you know, where when you're young, like you just want to get one, you know, and then the next year you just want to get one again, maybe a little bigger. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but maybe. And it's kind of that, but I don't know, you do it long enough, it becomes easier to pass animals knowing you might go home without them. And oftentimes you do, but it does give you the opportunity to hold, you know, see if you can see those bigger ones.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, how many times when you're in those younger days, you shoot a decent animal, and then that giant steps out right after you shoot him? I don't know how
For
many times
sure.
that happened to me.
For sure. No, and I think too, it's like I said, I think reading animal behavior goes a big part of that too. Like the more you can read the animal, the better you're going to be at making the right moves at the right times, you know, like not drawing your bow at a bad time, not drawing it too late, not drawing it too early, um, knowing when to blow on the grunt tube, knowing when to blow on the cow call, knowing when you're doing it too much. You know, it's just all those things through experience. Like you can get lucky for sure, but to do it consistently, it's like you got to go where they live, and it just comes with patience and experience, really.
What species do you like to hunt the most?
This is always such a tough question for me because it's always like in September, I like to hunt elk the most. In November, I like to hunt deer the most. In May, I love to hunt spring bears. So, but if I had to break it down, I mean, if I had to pick one animal in Montana that I think could sustain hunters hunting them year after year and still have great opportunity and just get the heart pumping, it would be elk. Just
I'm
everything, you know, the sounds they make, the way they move, they're pretty magnificent.
I agree. I'm right there with you, man. My history is I started with whitetails in Minnesota, obsessed, loved the whitetail hunting. Then I moved to mule deer hunting, got obsessed with that. But now I'm stuck on elk, man, and it's an addiction that I can't kick.
For sure. It never goes away.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
what
it's a
what
good
tac
one though.
Yeah. What tactic what's your kind of go-to tactic for elk getting one down? Or do you got a bunch of them that you kind of use strategically?
I mean, if I'm hunting a specific bull, I will call as little as possible. Like, cause I'm trying to slow play that for just the right opportunity. Cause he's not coming to a call. Like big bulls do what they want when they want. Like there's a few days of the year I think you could probably hit the right notes and get a big old hammer to come in, but for the most part, you know, they're when you have the chance to see those bulls, they're with cows, and um so you know, you can squawk all you want. on a bugle or a cow call, he'll answer the cow call. He just won't come to you. You know, he's got all he needs right there, and he'll answer the bugle, but he's only doing it to keep his distance. Like, he just wants to know where you're at. And then when you hear him bugle unsolicited, it's like, it's not him wondering where you're at because he's coming towards you. He just wants to make sure he still has his distance, you know? So if I'm hunting a specific bull, the calls are the last thing that I'm going to use. That being said, you know, if I'm just hunting a new area, I get an out-of-state tag, New Mexico, something like that. I don't know what's in the area and I'm just going in to hunt. You know, I will use the calls at that point because I'm just trying to see what's out there, figure out where they're at, make them vocal, get into their, you know, kitchen and start to figure them out. But, you know, so if I'm hunting a specific bull, I don't call a lot. And then the other thing that I think works great and has proved to work great through the years for kind of pinpointing and killing big bulls is just water. You know, because that is the one time a day that you can catch that bull off guard. He's gonna need water. You know, he's very depleted. And you can catch him like at random times, a lot of times without any other eyeballs. Like, it'll be 2, 3 in the afternoon and all the cows are bedded in the shade. And that bull is like just been running since, you know, the evening before. And now he's just parched and he's like, okay, all the ladies are down. I don't hear any bulls coming in on me. I'm just going to get up and I'm going to slip to the water really quick. And then I'm going to get back here as quick as I can. And so it's the one time that you can catch those big herd bulls slipping and, you know, peel them away from all the other eyeballs, all the other noses, that kind of thing. Obviously, it takes a ton of patience, and no matter where they're bugling and what's going on, you just have to sit there, you know, so that can kind of take a certain mindset, but it's definitely proved to be a really effective method for getting those herd bulls for sure. And then a guy that I admire a lot for bow hunting that also hunts water and has killed probably more big bulls than I know, says, you know, that's also the best time to like get an arrow in them because they're like so depleted that you stick an arrow in them, they just have no fight. He said, like, versus letting them stick their nose in the water, drinking for 2 minutes and then coming out and turning to go. He goes, think about like when you get out of your truck to start the hike and you chug your water, you're feeling good and you're fresh, and you get in a fight. Like, it's going to take you a lot more to get knocked down than when you're getting back to your truck and you're out of water and you're tired and sweaty and you just want to sit down. He's like, that's the difference between a bull coming into a water hole versus a bull leaving a water hole, or any animal for that matter. So not only that, but you're not shooting through a water balloon this big if he's quartered away, you know. There's just nothing there to stop the arrow. So yeah, all good things when it comes to bow hunting elk.
I love that, man. That makes complete sense for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So takes a lot of patience, but man, it works if you got the time.
Right. What story do you love sharing about hunting? Like a good kill, or just one epic story that you love to share?
There's a lot of them. There's a good one I can share here recently it's a good wholesome story. It's not necessarily about me on a hunting trip or anything like that, but it did just kind of come full circle here recently. I was, let's see, this was probably 20 years ago, more than that, probably 25 years ago. I lived on the backside of the Bridger Mountains on a ranch, and I lived in a little farmhouse that was right off the side of the highway. And next to my little house, there was this giant haystack that the rancher would pile all his hay there for the winter to feed the cattle. Well, the elk had found that haystack and were coming in. We had an early winter that year, so the elk were really looking for feed. And so the elk were really coming off the mountain, coming into that haystack, and they were really visible. Like, you know, people knew that the elk were coming down and stopping on the highway and watching them come down. And I mean, my house is literally like 75 yards from this haystack. And it's opening weekend of hunting season, and it's at night, and I'm sitting there and, you know, watching TV, something, probably 10:30, and it's really quiet. Like, this is out in the country, so even if a car drives by, you kind of notice. And this car kind of goes by the house, and I'm not thinking much of it, and all of a sudden I hear gunshot go off. And I'm like, oh, somebody just poached an elk in the haystack right here by my house.
Wow.
So I go into the garage, I put the garage up, I get my truck. This is when you could still actually turn the headlights off. I backed up and I get out onto the highway and I turn in behind the guy. And I didn't even take the time to put shoes or nothing on. So I'm like in my boxers and a t-shirt and nothing. Like, that's it. And my video camera. And I get onto the highway and I turn and I hit my headlights on, and the guy just punches it. And at the time I was working as an electrician in Bozeman. So I drove this canyon every single day, like twice a day at the very minimum. So I knew it like the back of my hand. And, you know, at that time I was in my early 20s. So I was probably like late to work most of the time. So I was driving it like Mario Andretti. So like nobody was going to outrun me on this thing. So next thing I know, we're in a high speed chase going down Bridger Canyon. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what am I going to do if this person gets out and confronts me? Because I have nothing but my video camera and no shoes, pants on, nothing. Like, I'm just trying to get his license plate number. That's actually all I'm trying to do, is get his plate on film. So as I'm chasing him, he turns up this logging road off of the highway. Well, I know it's a dead end. Like, he can only go so far. So I'm like, oh, you just made a mistake. So I pull in and I park and I shine my headlights up the road and I just leave them on, so he knows I'm there. And I see him go up and he hits the end of the road where he can't go any further. And I see him get out of his truck, and I don't have binoculars or anything, but I can kind of see him like going down into the brush. So I'm assuming he's like ditching his firearm, getting rid of any evidence, maybe alcohol. I don't know. He's doing something up there shady.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, or what I was thinking. And so finally, you know, after this standoff, here comes the truck, and he has to come right past me to get out. So I'm shining the headlights. I zoom in on his license plate, and he pauses right in front of me. And I'm like, uh-oh, like this could get Western. I don't know if he's going to shoot at me or ram my truck or what he's going to do. And all of a sudden he just like hits the gas and he speeds right up alongside of me and he rolls down his window. And it's like a 16 or 17-year-old kid, 18, I don't know, young. And he is shaken. He's like, I am so sorry, sir. That was the stupidest thing I've ever done. It's just been a hard day of hunting, and I can't even believe what I was thinking. It was so stupid. I never should have shot that porcupine. And I go, what? Wait a minute. You shot a porcupine? And he goes, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. It was so stupid. I was just frustrated. I hiked all day. And he's like vibrating in the seat. And I'm like, so you're telling me that shot I heard, was you shooting a porcupine? Yeah, he was just standing in the ditch. I shouldn't have done it. I'm like, okay, well, I got your plate number. So if I go back and there's anything other than a porcupine in the ditch, you'll be hearing from the sheriff or the game warden real quick. And he's like, I'm sorry, sir. It's a porcupine. And so sure as heck, I drive back and here's this porcupine laying in the ditch. It just so happened it was where all the elk had been coming in. So I'm like, okay, that was pretty comical. That kid had the scare of his life. Probably will never do that again, you know? And here, like a month ago. Yeah. little over a month ago, I took my family to Chico Hot Springs for my oldest son's birthday. And we're sitting in the hot springs, and all of a sudden, this guy, it's kind of like dark and steamy, you can't really see. And I hear this guy go, "JasonMatzinger?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, do you remember probably about 20 some years ago, like you chasing a guy that shot a porcupine in the ditch outside of your house?" And I go, "Yeah, yeah, I absolutely remember that. I tell my kids that story." And I kind of pause and I'm like, obviously you have to know me to know that story. So I kind of pause. I'm like, "Was that you?" And he goes, "Yeah, that was me." So, 25 years later, he approaches me and is like, "That was so stupid, but yeah, that was me." And so it was funny because I got to hear his side fully, and then he heard my side fully, and we just laughed about it and shook hands. And, I just thought it was a great story on how, like, we all make mistakes, but if you just own up to it and, admit when you do something stupid, like you can laugh about it, shake hands, and, have a beer 20 years later. It's like, and nobody cared. Like, I don't know. It was just a funny story how it all came full circle.
That's awesome, man. That's a good one.
Yeah.
A porcupine.
Yeah. Took it out on the porcupine, but yeah, obviously I thought it was an elk laying there, but yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
we've all
funny
been
story.
there. A little bit frustrated, and sometimes it's the best of us, but we learn from it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was funny.
What
So,
hunts you got coming up that you're looking forward to this year, Jason?
we're gonna be hunting Nebraska for whitetail this year on kind of a do-it-yourself deal on the North Platte River. I'm pretty excited about that. Um, ne- uh, this year with my son graduating and kind of a lot going on, I didn't plan a lot for this spring or fall with my boys, being able to put in for tags and both hunting now, my youngest and my oldest. I didn't want to plan a lot this fall either because it's my youngest first year being able to hunt kind of everything. But starting next spring, we're going to Patagonia for red stag. Um, I did that a few years ago with a friend of mine, and it was like one of the, if not the best hunt I've ever been on outside of my home state here. It was an incredible experience. So, going to go back and do that with the same friend and his wife, and then I'm going to take my girlfriend and go down and do that. And then the big one beyond that for me that I have planned out is desert sheep in 2028 down in Mexico. So I've taken two of the subspecies of North American sheep. I've taken a Rocky Mountain Bighorn and a Doll. So I'm trying to get a stone in a desert before I kick the bucket.
How hard was that tag to get?
The sheep?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not hard to get. It's just
Oh, really?
it's just an expensive hunt. Yeah, it's one you either have to have a pile of money or you have to really want to do it and then plan out years in advance like I did. But it's worth it to me. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, desert sheep tags are pretty hard to draw. So um just gonna go for it.
Nice.
Make it happen.
Heck yeah. How many years have you been hunting now, Jason?
I guess 35.
35 years?
Yeah.
A lot of years, man. You got a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't even feel that old.
In your
But
career now, would you rather hunt with another buddy, family member, or do it yourself solo hunt?
that's a tough one. I mean, I think in general, if I always solo hunted, I think I would get kind of bored, but I really do enjoy going out into the woods by myself still and spending those few days to yeah, just be by myself. So I enjoy a mix of both, but I think now with my kids and the age I'm at and things like that, it feels a little empty if I'm out there day after day by myself, knowing my kids are at home doing whatever, doing their daily grind. So, um, yeah, I love the solo. I just killed my turkey this year on a solo trip, and it was the most refreshing. I've never done a solo turkey trip, and it was kind of impromptu. Went out, my camera guy Sam and his wife were taking the time to hunt together for a few days. So I was like, heck with it, I'll just go on my own. And it was awesome. I mean, I had a great hunt. And yeah, so I love both, but all in all, I think where I'm at in life now, I like having the people I care about with me.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of went on a journey with my hunting career. I did a lot of solo hunting, and I kind of went out west with a couple buddies, a couple years, and I definitely found that I've been on some really cool solo hunts. One in Wyoming, shot a nice bull there, and a couple years back in Montana, a couple buddies and I were out there. We shot 3 bulls and just had the time of our lives. And I think to your point, it's nice. I mean, for me, and it sounds like you're kind of on that same wavelength as well. It's nice to have those solo hunts, but then it's nice to have those hunts with family members or other buddies as well. And in my opinion, you kind of miss that storytelling a little bit when you're by yourself with another buddy, that you can kind of relive those experiences and kind of call them up or kind of vent that story to them years on down the road, and it just kind of lives on, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I found too, like all the years of hunting by myself, like the trails I would hike for bear hunting or shed hunting or something, they're the most special places on earth to me. And it's like from the time I take my kids there, after that, it's like it just changes that area for me. It's like I don't want to walk through it without them anymore, because all I can think about is that time that they were there and I felt so complete. And so it is interesting. Like until I take them there, I don't think about it like that. But once I've been there with them and I see them move through the area, I watched them sit on that rock, or I watched them, do whatever. I can just envision it. And then it's like when I'm there by myself, it makes me miss them.
Yeah, for sure. When you're hunting with another person or your fan, how does your strategies kind of change a little bit?
For sure. Yeah. I think, yeah, you have to hunt a little different, whether you're, hunting with a buddy or having the camera guy with, you know, um, or like a lot of times now, like me and my girlfriend hunting and a camera guy, that's a whole other ball of yarn to unravel, because you got to get the shooter in the right place, got to get the cameraman in the right place. But I don't necessarily, like, as the caller, have to be in the right place. Or I don't have to be where I can see them. So that allows me to then shoot, I can strike off 100, 150 yards back here and over the ridge and just call and roll rocks and break sticks. And so that's nice because I don't, feel the pressure to necessarily have to be right there with the shooter, or with whoever. So, but yeah. And then solo hunting, I just feel like, I mean, you can just get so much more aggressive when you're solo hunting. You're more stealthy. You can make those quick little moves that, 2 people probably couldn't make. You just get away with more, you can be more stealthy and get more aggressive for sure.
Well, sounds like you got a couple epic hunts coming up, and then you got what was the name of that grizzly film again?
It's called Walking with Grizzlies.
Walking with Grizzlies. Well, I'm looking forward to watching that.
Me too. We're still working on it. There's no release date, which is great. Not feeling the pressure to have to get it done based on a date. So hoping, ideally would love to kick it out right before hunting season, get people super bear aware and making smart moves out there when they take to the woods, because there's more bears than ever.
Yeah. The timing of that could be pretty awesome. It's like you said, I mean, right before September or something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the hopes. So stay tuned.
Cool, man. Well, Jason, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for taking your time and your passion for
course.
wildlife conservation and storytelling. I mean, it's unmatched, second to none. And where can listeners
you.
find you or touch base with you if they like?
So my social media accounts are just Jason Matzinger official. So on Facebook or Instagram, that's the place to kind of keep up with the day-to-day happenings, whether we're bear hunting, shed hunting, turkey hunting, or doing nothing. And then the television shows on the Sportsman's Channel. We come on between July and December, but you can find all our shows online at myoutdoortv.com. It's got all the seasons of IntoHigh Country on there, all 17. So those are the best places. And then, of course, YouTube. You can find all my stuff on YouTube as well. Carbon TV, Waypoint TV, Sportsman's Channel Canada, if you're in Canada. Those are the main spots.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on, Jason. We appreciate you, and good luck.
Yeah. Likewise, I appreciate what you guys are doing and appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, you bet. I'll hit stop, and then if you want to chat afterwards, we can.
Cool.
That's a wrap for this episode. Remember to stretch those legs, scout new trails, and share Join Team Hunt with a friend. The next story with that ultimate team is just around the bend.